Welcome into Indiana Basketball After the Game tonight with Joe Hillman as Indiana loses on the road to Syracuse in 2 overtimes, 112-110. Welcome in, Joe Hillman. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. That was a crazy game. That was the strangest first half to second half I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, Indiana down by 18 points at one time. They chip away and get back into the game. Right in Parker Stewart. He hit three pointers there in the second half. A couple of buckets with Trace Jackson Davis. Indiana comes out and they're right back in the game, and they kind of keep chipping away at it. And the next thing you know, we've got a back and forth game. But man, the story of this game has got to be for Indiana again. 25 turnovers. And the 33 points off of turnovers that Syracuse manages to put away from that.
Yeah, you're not going to beat even. I mean, I don't think Syracuse is a very good team. I mean, they've struggled so far, but you're not beating anybody in the Big Ten that's any good with that many turnovers. I mean, they've got to cut that in half to be competitive. And then defensively in the first half, I just not sure what they were doing. They couldn't stop anybody off the dribble. And then that pressure that they created, the defensive approach to start the second half changed the game. I mean, they came out, they defended, and then they made some shots, but 49 points in the first half, and a lot of that was just straight line drives like we discussed, and they struggled a little bit with that with Marshall on Saturday. So they got some work to do.
And then the bad thing is 13 turnovers were between Trace and Race.
Yeah, that to me stands out. But some of that is against the zone. But they've got to do a better job of passing the basketball and taking care of it. I mean, that's just that. Hey, 13 of those two guys, that is a lot. I'm looking at that right now, 6 and 7. That's a crusher because they're not really handling the ball that much as far as dribbling and with pressure. I mean, I understand they threw a couple lobs that were iffy, maybe a couple charges here and there, but that number is going to really stick out at Mike Woodson's looking at this, and based off of what I've read, they're going to do some running.
Well, yeah, all of them, the entire team, including the coaches, will be doing some running.
I mean, I think they played pretty clean in the overtimes too. That's the scary thing. I think they had a couple turnovers in the 2 overtimes, but they had 22 or 23 in the regulation, and I can't believe the game went into overtime. To be honest with you, neither team looked like they wanted to win. I mean, or make plays to win.
Yeah, turnovers again. This is the second time now Indiana has had 25 or more turnovers in the early part of this season. That is just a number that just jumps out no matter what's going on. The changeover, I mean, I don't know. How do you explain that many turnovers by a team that has enough veterans on a team that really shouldn't be having that kind of an issue?
Yeah, Jim, I don't know how it's hard to explain. I mean, it's carelessness. It's not really. We used to have a thing where every single possession you have to take care of the ball. You have to get shots up. You just have to value every single time down the floor. And you get into these deals like this, and it's almost like, okay, well, we'll try this. We'll throw it up. It doesn't matter. We're going to get it back. That's okay. We're just, we're not really playing with any time, or we're just out here running up and down. I mean, that's the mentality that it looks like out there sometimes. And that we've got some older guys, but we play a very immature way of playing, and that's got to get shored up, or they're just not going to beat anybody any good, especially on the road. I mean, you saw what happened in the first half when they were careless with the ball. They didn't defend. And they were getting blitzed, and now you do that against a good team and on the road in the Big Ten, and you're not getting back in the game more than likely. So they've got to shore some stuff up. I mean, there were some positives tonight. I mean, they did handle the zone fairly well once they started getting the ball to the high post and then down into the corner, which is the way you have to attack it. You can't play catch against Syracuse's zone up along free throw line extended and above and just pass it around the perimeter. It's got to get inside. It's got to get down into the short corner because you can just destroy it if you do that.
Problems at the guard play tonight for Indiana as Xavier Johnson, Rob Finney, Parker Stewart all foul out of this ball game. Johnson and Finney, especially Finney, comes off the bench to foul out, but they were gone with neither of them played in any of the overtimes, I believe.
No, how many minutes did Finney play? Because he was not good tonight. He did not play well at all. And
wow, he fouled out in just 14 minutes.
Yeah, and he just was not very good tonight. He made a horrific play with about 6 minutes to go where I don't know what he was trying to do 1-on-2, and he turned the ball over and then fouled. And but I'll give Christian Lander a little props tonight. He came in dead stone cold, brings the ball up, gets fouled, makes the first, which was huge, and then missed the second like he had to, and then he hit a big three when they were down 4. Now he's still very tentative. You can see at the end of regulation when they had 10 seconds, or maybe that was the end of the first overtime, and I don't know what was set up, but he kind of froze and didn't really have anywhere to go with the basketball, made a tentative pass. But, guard play defensively has got to get better without fouling, because it's not like Syracuse has got a bunch of guys that are really quick and can beat you off the dribble. But you got to be able to play without fouling. No doubt about that.
Yeah, especially as this is the first true test. They went on the road and playing a team that was just average, to be honest with you. They were 3-3, and they haven't beaten anyone. So they haven't really been challenged, but now this gives them an idea that they're gonna have to step it up as far as the guard play. To have all your guards fouling out like that, first of all, it sounds like they're either a step behind defensively, or what were they doing to get in such difficulty on the perimeter?
Well, I mean, you start over pressuring the ball a little bit, and then they just got their hands involved, and a couple of these things now they're trying to guard Buddy Boeheim, who's a 6'6", 6'7" guy, which is bigger. But I mean, you've got to just be able to move your feet without reaching, and sometimes being over aggressive. You got to know who you're guarding. I mean, if a guy's not going to be able to really beat you, why get there in him? And again, the Xavier Johnson, maybe his fifth foul was a little iffy, because I thought the Syracuse guy kind of grabbed him and pulled him in and made it look like a foul. But I mean, it was a time where you had to foul anyways, basically. So they've got to find a better rhythm. And rhythm's probably a bad word, but a better awareness of where they're at on the floor, because some of those fouls were 30, 35 feet outside. And then, Parker Stewart got a foul down there at the end, maybe his fourth foul, where it's 95 feet away from 93 feet away from the basket. I'm not sure that, those are things you've got to be smarter with, and just have an awareness of game situation stuff that Indiana has kind of lacked. But they're big guys. We've got Indiana with Jackson Davis and Thompson, and Kopp played very well tonight, shooting the basketball. Their inside play is going to be as good as anybody in the country. I mean, I just don't see – both those players, Thompson and Davis, they're good. They're really good. They play well together. They dominated the game tonight. And we get some consistent guard rotation going, where they're playing more consistent, and they don't have to be spectacular. Now, Stewart made some shots tonight on the three, but you got to have somebody step up against the zone. But we don't have to have the guard play do anything but take care of the ball and make some, step up jumpers once in a while, and let these two big guys dominate the game, because they're going to. They're just quicker off the ground than anybody else, and they play well off each other, and they're good. So, I mean, that's going to be a strength of Indiana all year.
Miller Kopp with a career high 28 points tonight. You've mentioned he getting into the shooting, 9 of 16, 4 of 9 from behind the 3-point stripe, 6 of 7 at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Really good night for him, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he played well, and he did what he's supposed to do for this team. And the thing I thought the best factor tonight, or the best thing to take away from this game, is Indiana made free throws in the clutch. I mean, Jackson Davis steps up, makes 2 with 0.9 seconds to send the game to overtime. Kopp hits all 3 to tie the game.
How much pressure is that?
Well, people always talk about when you're ahead. It's more pressure when you got to step up and make 2 to tie a game than it is if you're up 2 and you miss one, because you still can go down and defend. I mean, you got to make those. I mean, I've always had a nightmare, Jim, about getting the rebound, and Keith Smart missed it. I'd miss both, and I'd have to leave Indiana in the championship game. But yeah, I mean, I and nobody talks about that. There's more pressure when you're down 1 or down 2, and you got to make free throws. And Indiana did a really good job of that tonight. Now Christian Lander gets a 1 for 2, but he missed the second one on purpose, which is, the announcer made a great comment, and I said it to my buddy watching the game. I said, hey, this guy, Gerard, he should miss the second free throw at the end. And you do that because if you miss, Race Thompson or Jackson Davis touch the ball, the clock stops, and they got to throw it from 94 feet and hope it goes in. Where if they make it, now you're throwing an inbounds pass. It's probably going to be a three-point shot anyway. So whether you're up 2 or up 1 makes no sense. The Syracuse guys should have missed the second free throw at the end of second overtime.
And they had an opportunity at the end of the first overtime to win it. Did not get a shot off. That's where they missed having Xavier Johnson in or Rob Finney, someone with a little more experience at the point, because they seem to just waste the first 4 or 5 seconds of that last possession.
Yeah, and that last possession with 10 seconds to go, it just looked like everybody inverted. Race Thompson and Jackson Davis came up high on the wings, and it's almost like Christian Lander said, well, I'm not throwing it to these guys because what are they going to do with it there, which is probably true. But you got to at least get something going to the basket. On the other hand, those Syracuse possession before that wasn't any better. Dribble, jack up a 3 from 30. That wasn't much better either. So, that's where this game got, to me, was like, does either team really want to make a play? But then plays were made. I mean, it was just kind of a strange way to, there was good play. There was really good play, and there was really bad play. There wasn't a whole lot in between.
What did you learn from this team after this game? I know that we didn't see a lot because the quality of competition was what it was, but there was definitely some resolve in coming back after being down by 18 on the road.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway. There was no quit. They battled, and they just got to find a way to play a little smarter with the ball and take better care of each and every possession. But I think being down 18 in the first half and then coming out, to me, Woody's going to show these guys the first 6, 7, 8 minutes of the second half and how they defended. Now, Syracuse took some really iffy shots. It was almost like Syracuse was trying to win by 40 in the first 5 minutes of the second half. But Indiana the defensive pressure was much better. They did a much better job in defending the dribble. And then they started making some shots. And it's amazing how the defensive side picks up when you start making some shots. So I think that to me is the positive side of things. They did hang in there. Guys made free throws at the end. And I think we saw again what a dominant inside game we have with Thompson and Jackson Davis, that they are going to be a force. Because they both are just so good off of they got good spin moves. They're quick off the ground, and they can make shots. They make the little 6, 7, 8 foot little, and those are not easy shots that they make, but they sure make it look easy. To me, the questioning part of this tonight was, what I really wanted to see going into this game, first road game with this group, first true road game. And the way it started, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But then they did fight back. But tonight, I think you saw some youth at the guard player, and it's not even youth, it's just unfamiliarity with where you're at in Indiana and playing with different guys. Because Bates did not play like he normally plays. He took a couple iffy shots. Finney, I thought he struggled. And then Johnson's just got to stay out of foul trouble. He's too key of a player. How many minutes did Johnson play tonight?
He played 26 minutes.
Okay. But he needs Johnson for Indiana to be good. Johnson's going to have to play 30, 32 minutes because he can't distribute the ball.
Which is probably his norm
right.
That he would have played, which if it hadn't been for the fouls and getting taken out early.
But he's been in foul trouble though. He's been in some foul trouble in a lot of these games. Like he was in foul trouble in the I don't even remember. I forget who we played when I did this the other night with you. He got into foul trouble in that game, and because Christian Lander played quite a bit. So they've got to get Finney right, and we got to. I think Bates has got to be a good. Now Bates is a freshman. Let's not expect him to do superstar things every single night, but he needs to be a consistent because he can be a 6 to 8 to 10 point scorer for Indiana with his ability and just maybe the zone wasn't suited for his game, but I would have thought he could have been a guy tonight that could have really got into the gaps and got into the lane and created some plays. And you just didn't see any of that. But again,
you took my next question away. That's exactly what I was going to ask. Where Tamar Bates seems like one of the guys that could have done exactly what was needed.
Yeah. Now, again, in the second half, they did a really nice job of getting the ball into the paint and then down to that corner. And I was talking to some guys today at lunch about how you play against the zone. I said, you got to get the ball. You got to bury them in that corner when they bring that guy up high and force their big guy to come out with somebody that can shoot. And then you got to get the ball into that middle area because they just leave it exposed. And Indiana did a good job of that in the second half. They got away from it a little bit in the overtime when they got down, 6 or 8 or whatnot, but then they made some plays and in regulation, they got ahead, and then all of a sudden Syracuse goes on a little bit of a 8-9-0 run and get back ahead by 7. And in that stretch, Indiana didn't get many good looks, and they got away from getting that ball up into that high post area and down into the corner. And now the clock runs down, you end up taking a bad 3. So, this team still got some stuff to work on, obviously. I'm really interested to see them play and better teams. And that's why I go back and look at the schedules that Indiana's played over the last 10 years. And I just don't like what they do. There's no Kentucky, there's no Louisville, there's no Notre Dame on an annual basis. There's, you got to play people to figure out. Playing the Northern Illinois, the Jackson States, you don't find out about your team on that. And again, that's not Woody's. These schedules are made 5-6 years in advance. So, this was a game that was kind of a forced schedule in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but these are the kind of games you need to play. On the road in a hostile, arena, and this is where you find out about your guys and who can make plays down the stretch and who's willing to step up. That was the one thing I did see tonight. Guys were willing to step up and make some plays.
Yeah, Indiana's 3-point shooting again, very good on the road tonight, which was surprising in this environment. They go on the road and they end up shooting 40% for the game, which is pretty damn good for an Indiana team.
Yeah, and that's really with Bates going 0 for 4. But the thing on that, Jim, you got the guys you want shooting it. Kopp took 9. Stewart took 12, and they were, those two guys were 10 for 21. That to me is what you want. You don't need Race Thompson and Xavier Johnson and guys Geronimo shooting threes, and get Kopp and Stewart, let them shoot the threes. That is to me getting an understanding of what you can and can't do as a player. And, just again, I've said this 100 times, just because you're open, standing wide out there at the 3-point line doesn't mean you have to shoot it with 15, 18 seconds on the clock. You're open because the other team wants you open. It's because you can't shoot. So, just because you're open doesn't mean you have to shoot it. So Indiana did a good job there to me tonight. Is the guys they want shooting 3-point shots are the guys shooting it. I mean, both Kopp and Stewart have good strokes.
Yeah, the one, speaking of 3-point shooting, Syracuse shot 38%, which they're not a good 3-point shooting team. So Indiana allowing them to shoot better than they normally do. Now, they were at home, so that probably helped a little bit.
Yeah, that helps.
But you're allowing a team that doesn't shoot very well to shoot well. They had some open looks, but it wasn't overall a bad night defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what's considered good 3-point shooting. I mean, you can do the math. If you go 33%, it's like shooting 50% from 2-point, but you usually give up some pretty long rebounds if you're missing poorly. But Buddy Boeheim did not shoot the ball very well tonight behind the 3-point line, but they had some pressure on him. And but yeah, I mean, overall, that again, the defense was horrible in the first half, and it definitely picked up. And you could see in the first 6 or 7 minutes in the second half, they just pressured the ball more, and that created some of the poor shot selections that Syracuse took. Even though again, Syracuse came out the first 3 or 4 minutes and just shot the ball with one pass. Indiana was better off the dribble in that second half. The first half is just like, well, we're just going to let everybody dribble and do whatever they want.
Yeah, and then of course, speaking of free throws, 34 times Syracuse goes to the line tonight. Indiana 31 attempts there, so both teams shooting about the same. So and both shooting remarkably close to 79, almost 80% for Syracuse, 74% for Indiana. You're not really going to complain about that on the road, although Trace Jackson Davis, 5 of those misses were his.
But he made 2 huge ones, though. I mean, he
shot
ones.
14 times.
Realistically, this is an unbelievable night for Syracuse. They normally are not a very good free throw shooting team, but the numbers get skewed here a little bit because of the score of the game and double overtime. But yeah, I mean, if Indiana can make 74, 75% of their free throws every single night, they're going to score some points, no doubt about that, for sure. Again, it goes back to both teams. Indiana 24 fouls or whatnot, but again, you're playing 10 extra minutes. So, and Indiana's fouling at the end when you get down, and they kind of had to in that last 2 minutes of the regulation.
You talk about Indiana's schedule not being what it once was. We all remember those early season games. Big Ten season now also, though, added a couple more games from that. So that has squeezed into December. The next game coming up for Indiana is, in fact, a Big Ten game against Nebraska at home on Saturday, December 4th. Then they'll travel to Wisconsin before taking on Merrimack at home. Then they have Notre Dame in the last edition of the Crossroads Classic in Northern Kentucky, and UNC Asheville before kicking back into Big Ten play on January 2nd. So kind of a mixed bag coming up over December now as you mix in the last couple of non-con games with a few conference games. Does Indiana have a sense, does Mike Woodson, after tonight, I guess, have a much better sense of where they are, that they're certainly not where they need to be, especially with taking care of the ball?
Oh, yeah, I still think Indiana would be considered to me an unknown. They have flashes of brilliance, but the schedule. I just don't know if I don't know how good St. John's is. I mean, that was a very good win, I consider, because I thought St. John's was better than Syracuse. Going on the road, losing at an ACC game. With the team, Syracuse is a big name. It's going to look like a win. I just don't know how good Syracuse is going to be this year. To me, I don't like this Big Ten stuff in the middle of the. Why play 2 games in the first week of Big Ten? Why not just say, okay, hey everybody, we're going to start the last week of December? I don't get it, because I'd really like to see Indiana play a couple more road games against some teams that you got to go on the road. I mean, to me, the game on Saturday is I don't know how good Nebraska is, but I don't even care how good Wisconsin is. That is going to be a brutal game at Wisconsin because that is going to be a true road game, and that's probably a pretty good basketball team that's going to make things very difficult for you, and not really getting. That again, where you have the Louisville, the Kentucky, one of those games we always played on the road, and then every other year we'd play at Notre Dame or Notre Dame at home. I mean, those are games where you find out what you need to really work on. I mean, if you look at Indiana's game so far, it's hard to you bring up the stuff about the turnovers and whatnot, but when you're winning games, it's you can get to guys more as a coach when you're losing games, and now you can say, hey, look what we're doing, because you can be a little more critical. I think sometimes it's hard to be critical when you're winning games by 20 or whatnot. Now, Coach Knight never had a problem getting critical when you didn't play well and you still won. But in fact, those were some of the worst deals. So I don't know how Woody handles that in the locker room. I know he's not happy with the amount of turnovers, and I got to believe he wasn't real thrilled with the way they played on Saturday defensively against Marshall. I mean, Jackson Davis had an unbelievable game to kind of carry them through that, because boy, they were bad in the first half of that game. So they've just gotta shore up some things defensively, to me, because I think they're going to score enough points. And think about this again: 24 turnovers or 25 turnovers. If you just cut that down to 15, you get 10 more shots, which is more fouls potentially, is more buckets. I mean, it's just. You're not going to win games with 25 turnovers. That has to get fixed.
Yeah, Michael says that Rob Finney should have been a Harlem Globetrotter. He likes to dribble a lot, but that's
Rob's struggling a little bit.
Now he's coming back off of an injury. His first.
Yeah, I don't even know what the injury is, because they didn't even say anything. It almost
lower injury. The official.
It almost looked like he tweaked it a little bit on that play with 6 minutes to go when he went 1-on-2, kind of full court, and ended up kind of stumbling and turning the ball over. But he's a senior, and they need good, consistent play out of him. I mean, he can't foul out in a game like this in 14 minutes of play. He's got to be a factor. Now, he did have 3 assists and only 1 turnover, but he's just a better player than that, and he's got to find out what's going to get him going and be a really positive contributor to this team, because he can definitely help. But he's got to be more consistent, and he's again, if you're not at practice every single day, I'm not sure what they're trying to create out of his role. But I know that he's got the ability to do more than what he's doing.
From a mental standpoint, how do they come out of this? Is this something you're just pissed off that you let one get away? Are you happy that you fought back? What's the emotion usually from a game like this? I know losing's losing for me, but where this team wise with what he is trying to do,
I hope they're frustrated and they're mad and they're pissed off the way they played in the first half. I mean, the first half basically cost them the game. Now you can look at it and say, yeah, we really hung in there and we did come back. But to me, I think the first half is going to be there's 2 learning things here. One, good with the way you battled and you beat the zone in the second half. And then on the bad side is, hey, look, we cannot play defensively and do the things that we did in the first half, which really kind of made an uphill battle the rest of the way. You have to expend a lot of energy when you're down 18 to get back into the game. And, usually you get right to that tie ball game type of deal, and then there's a little bit of a letdown, and we saw it again tonight. They did get over the hump, as we call it, and got ahead by 1 or 2, but then Syracuse went on a 7-8, 9-0 run and got ahead by 7 or 8 again immediately. So, to me, I think there'd be some frustration here. I think there's going to be a deal. Hey, look, we're better than Syracuse. we cannot get off to these bad starts, and we got to take care of the basketball because that's a team we should beat. I don't care if it's on the road or not. I think Indiana has better players than Syracuse. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
No doubt. And not Christian Lander, but Trace Jackson Davis, another night for him, 31 points, 16 rebounds. I mean, he is truly putting up All-American numbers. Reigning National Player of the Week. I mean, you played with guys that put up numbers, whether it was Alford or whom. I mean, you came to Indiana as a scorer. Would you average 44 points a game? But in college at this level, we don't usually see these kinds of numbers in successive games. 43 points, 31 points, at least not in Indiana. We haven't for a long time. So to see that is exciting, and to see it built around with a team built around him has to be exciting for Indiana fans, and to have Mike Woodson as a coach. So a lot of positive things going forward. Trace Jackson Davis is really starting off the season pretty damn well.
Yeah, he takes a lot of percentage dunks. I like that. That to me is the thing that I like this year about it. He's not going up soft. I mean, he's going to the rim to dunk the ball. And he's playing with a confidence of nobody's going to stop me. And I do like the way that he uses the dribble and that spin move to create. Because I just don't think there's anybody his size and his strength that can guard him on the dribble, and he hasn't. A couple times last year he'd get into that deal where I'm going to shoot the ball from 15 feet. That's not his game. His game is getting the ball off the dribble on the move, and tonight against the zone, you're not really. I don't know how many of his 11 makes. He must have had 5, 6, 7 dunks. That I can remember. But they were just efficient down low when they got that ball to the high post. And so, scoring, 74 points in 2 games? I mean, maybe Jimmy Rail had that, but I don't know many other guys that had that many in back-to-back games.
Oh, man. So Indiana now.
That might be a record, to be honest with you, 74 in 2 games.
74 points in 2
in 2 games?
Back-to-back.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Jimmy Rail. That's the only guy I can think of.
I have to go back in the 70s or the 70s back and look. What about Mike Woodson?
I don't know. I mean, 74 is getting,
it's
37 tonight. That's tough.
I have to go back. I have to, I've got the book. I have to do the
research. Maybe when Jimmy Rail scored 52 or 53, or maybe Don Schlund or something, but that's pretty impressive. And you know what? Race Thompson was good too. I mean, they played off each other, but then you can put in a big but. 13 turnovers between the two of them. That is not acceptable. That can't happen.
You know what? I don't want to get off the point, but I kind of brought this up last time, but originally from California, before you came to IU, how are Jimmy Rail and Don Schlund? Those are names from the 50s. How are even names like that in your repertoire when you played in Indiana 30 years after that?
Well, I mean, that to me is, when I got to Indiana, it was like, okay, what's the history of it all? I don't know. Hopefully Mike Woodson's
do that,
having guys do that. When you see Jimmy Rail's name sprinkled all over the record book, when you get before a game, you got to be there 2 hours beforehand. You read a lot of those programs, and you look at that stuff. There's not a whole lot of other stuff to do. But yeah, those were 2 great players at IU. How did you not know about it? That'd be like saying, to me, I'd be shocked if a Rob Finney or some of these guys didn't know who Steve Alford was or Calvert Chaney. How do you not know about that? Now, I don't know. The last 10 years prior to Woody getting here, I don't think much of the history was talked about. I really don't. And that's kind of sad, but Coach Knight talked about guys that played prior to Indiana, and this is what this is what we are representing, and this is, there was great players before you, and there's going to be great players after, and you got to keep building on it, and we're coming here to win Big Ten championships, and let's keep going. When I was there, Alford and Thomas and Meyer, they didn't want to. They were the first group that was going to go through there. Never out of class and won a Big Ten championship until we won it Steve's senior year or so. Yeah, I mean that stuff was talked about, and we knew the history of Indiana basketball. At least I think a lot of my teammates know Jimmy Rail and Don Schlund. I mean,
I believe
again,
that.
You know, I'd be stunned. And my dad knew who Jimmy Rail was when my dad was playing at SC, and he always talked about, oh man, I remember that Jimmy Rail. He could shoot the ball.
So your dad played for USC?
Yeah, my dad played at USC. Yeah,
I did not know that.
so he played from 59 to 63.
I learned something new every day. I did not know that. I have to put that down, and I did not know. Well, it's good to get off the topic sometimes, but Indiana losing tonight to Syracuse here on the post-game show. And don't forget, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington, Indiana. Make sure you stop by. That's where the Inside Indiana basketball with Coach Mike Woodson is back Monday night at 7:05. Him and the Fish, Don Fisher. You got to.
Hey Jim, what did he say after the game?
Well, since it was a road game, I wasn't there and I didn't see it. So I'll have to get that afterwards.
Yeah,
we'll have to get that. Normally we try to get that up and get it onto the show, but we don't have that tonight because of the being a road game, whatnot. So
gotcha.
we'll have that on the show tomorrow on Indiana Sports Beat Radio for everybody though. But cannot thank you enough as always, man. To look forward to doing it again soon. Indiana with their next game they're coming up. Like I said, they take on back to a non-conference game.
You know, Saturday is a huge opportunity for Indiana to get off to a good start in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten is going to be tough. Now, the Big Ten got really highly rated preseason, and they've stumbled here a little bit, but that doesn't. I don't think that's any indication what it's going to be a battle every single night you go on and have to play on the road, and hopefully our fans and our students will continue to come to Assembly Hall and make that atmosphere like the St. John's game, because I can't tell the people out there listening enough how much that helps when you've got that support and that atmosphere going. It's worth a lot of energy and it's worth a lot of points. So people keep coming out there and supporting the team. And Saturday's a huge game. It's a noon tip off. So, you know, we got to have a good crowd there. Because getting off to a good start in the Big Ten is massive. It's just you got to play too many games on the road, and they're tough games to be coming back from a bad start. You got to get off and get going to where you're not playing catch up the whole season.
Well, two other first four Big Ten games are against Ohio State and Wisconsin, so it's not easy.
Yeah, that's why Saturday is almost, I hate to say it, almost a must win. I mean, they got to win that game because you're going to go and now to me, when they play Ohio State, I think that's a home game. Those are games that's a game. I don't care what the other team's ranked. That's a game you should expect to win and get after it at home.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about it on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I cannot thank Joe Hillman enough. Appreciate you, brother, as always. Make sure.
All right, buddy.
Oh, and before we forget, throw up his First Financial stuff, John.
Oh, Trustwell Strategies. Yeah. Hey,
Trustwell Strategies. Give it a shout out because you do better than I do. Where can they find you? Where can they find you?
Well, we're up in Indianapolis, and they can find us at twealth.com if you want any information, and we'd love to sit down and talk to people about what they're doing with their accumulation and distribution phases of their financial lives.
There you go. Jay Hillman at twealth.com. Make sure you reach out to him. Appreciate him. Appreciate you guys most of all. And of course to John, the producer. We'll be back tomorrow on Indiana Sports Beat Radio to talk about it and much more. But until then, for Joe Hillman, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.